In 2001, James Math, who's mostly well known for a lot of board game stuff that he does, launched RPGNow.com, which pioneered digital distribution, sales and distribution of titles, PDF titles, for role-playing game and other game enthusiasts. In 2006, he and Steve Wick of the famous Wick Brothers and of the White Wolf Studios fame decided to merge their two efforts because Steve had also very successfully launched Drive-Thru RPG, and there was such a crossover and similarity of marketplace that they decided that they would be stronger together, and they were, because they effectively created the Amazon of the RPG industry. Ultimately, and this all happened, by the way, in a period of time when I was actually working with One Bookshelf, the company, the parent company for these two sites and all the other associated sites. There'd been a lot of discussion about the fact that since they were essentially the same company, the same site, same everything, you log in to one, you've logged in effectively to both. The same technology applied across the two sites and again in other similar sites. So there was a lot of discussion about why do we still have one or the other. We need to figure out what we were going to be, merge them, create a new entity. The thing was, there was a lot of brand recognition for both. There were fans of RPGNow. That was their site. There were fans of Drive-Thru RPG. That was their site. So it kind of continued on for quite some time. Well, very recently it was announced that finally they were going to sundown RPGNow, because the vast majority of the traffic and sales is on Drive-Thru RPG. This makes perfect sense. You'll be redirected. This isn't all happened in February of 2019, by the way. But the thing is, RPGNow does have a role in the history of our hobby and the business of our hobby. It has been always identified as the home of indie RPGs, and the truth is, there are games and companies that get a higher level of spotlight on RPGNow than they might otherwise be able to achieve on the much more busy and trafficked Drive-Thru RPG. The bigger companies tend to get a lot more spotlight there. So I decided, in the wake of this announcement, to celebrate this situation. A little bit melancholy, but to discuss it, and I called it Goodbye RPGNow Week. And again, this officially does not happen until February 2019, so I'll probably do another one of these. But as I said, in celebration of in recognition of the announcement, I wanted to go through and I picked some top sellers that are on RPGNow that you'd probably not see within that top 5 or that top 10 list on Drive-Thru RPG. And with this, I want to go ahead and make a commitment now that I'm going to have a frequent series of indie RPG and the not top publishers who are doing really good stuff that deserves your attention. So I'm going to try to give some more attention to that, to sort of fill that gap a little bit. So let's go ahead and take a look at the 5 picks I made this week in recognition of Goodbye RPGNow Week, starting with Rangers of Shadow Deep. Now, this is kind of interesting because there's the name Shadow Deep actually has a meaning to me and my crew of friends, but from a completely different perspective, a world that Jamie Lewis and Chris Casera originally worked on, that myself and Corinne and others played in back in Atlanta, and Corinne and I have gone on to create something called The Crew that is based on that original work. So that's just a fun little side thing. But they called their product Rangers of Shadow Deep, and it is a really interesting callback to the origins of D&D, where folks create a team to follow a ranger to fight dark powers encroaching on their lands. It's more of a tabletop miniatures game, but it really gets at the heart of where fantasy gaming came from. So, if you think about what the original games were, they were miniatures games, but you had individual characters, and they built a team, and they worked their way through fantasy setting situations. This is what Dave Arneson did with the fantasy-enhanced chainmail rules that Gary Gygax helped put together. So this is a callback to all of that. So less RPG and more of a miniatures game, but there is character identification, and as I said, very much goes back to the heart of what gaming came from. So a fun product that a lot of people are very fond of. So it kind of mixes and matches. And again, if you're a role player, you're gonna role play. There's no doubt you're gonna immerse yourself in that. So Rangers of Shadow Deep, a solid product that launched the week's picks for Goodbye RPG Now. We move on to, as you can see, an expansive description of Microlight 78 First Edition Lite Expanded Second Tablet Digest Edition. OGL 20 rules for tabletop fantasy role-playing campaigns with an old-school 1E flair. I mean, it's a mess. That is such a crazy mess of a confusing, sort of complicated title. But the fact of the matter is, it's incredibly popular. And even, as I put this out there, a lot of people were very like, no, this is awesome. So it stands out. It's a highly popular on RPG Now, and there's a good reason, because you have to kind of know what the Microlight project is. And you may need to do a bit of digging to kind of figure it out. The essence, however, is a pathway to old-school D&D gaming that's meant to be clean, clear, and fun, even if the title doesn't really give you that. Again, there's a massive description that kind of gets into it, and that really kind of helps you figure it out. They basically went in, they cleaned some things up. They made this one specifically for tablets, sort of a digest edition. It's sort of the ultimate edition, or ultimate version, quote-unquote, of the second edition of Microlight 78 First Edition Lite, suitable for digest size printing or tablet viewing. It's a 1,008-page digest-sized PDF that includes new material, not including the standard or in the pay-what-you-want version of the second edition. Like I said, it's whatever. But basically, if I understand it correctly, just grab this and you have everything. Not forget, but you can look at the original stuff. But this kind of takes it all and says, here's the latest iteration of what we're trying to do. Gets into the basic classes: Fighter, Magic User, Cleric, Druid, and Thief. Additional optional classes: Assassin, Barbarian, Bard, Druid, Illusionist. Actually, that was Druid, both cases. Oh well. Anyway, the point is, it's supposedly a lot of fun, and the old school folks really love it. The next day, we look at Sly Flourish's Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master. This is a sequel to the original The Lazy Dungeon Master from 5 years ago. It's a follow-up to it. It's a solid, powerful sequel that people really enjoy. The entire concept of this is designed to help game masters of all kinds get more out of the role-playing games by preparing less. Make use of the experience of thousands of the GMs to help you focus on how do you prepare your games, how to run your games, and how you think about your games. So it's basically a guidebook for those who want to become dungeon masters and maybe want some additional help in how to do so, and even those who've been doing it for a while who might want to get some hints on how to shortcut things because, I'm having to work late, but I don't want to cancel the game. So that kind of thing. And what a great name for a writer, Sly Flourish. I mean, wow, I just love that. All right, so then we look at Zenobia, Fantasy Adventure in the Ancient World. Now, this is a standalone game. A lot of people have a lot of really cool things to say about this one. Basically, it's the concept of Rome falls, and everything sort of goes into a desert or mostly desert world. Although that guy's climbing up there, and there's alligators down below in the water, so it's not full desert. But you've got desert clans, mythical monsters, intrigue. You've got lots of kings and queens fighting for influence in the aftermath of a fantasy version of Fallen Rome. So you get a lot of cultural influences that are not typical for your Western fantasy game. And again, a lot of people have some really neat things to say about it. And it has been in the top spot there on RPG Now for a while. It's from Zozer Games, which is a really cool name for a game company. But it's its own game system. Quick play character archetypes. It has a 2D 6-driven core system that seems to run really, really nice and fast. So there you go. And then finally, today we looked at the Black Hack 2nd Edition. This is another gateway into old school gaming. The Hack series has launched all kinds of products from multiple game companies. There's an entire community around just the Hack concept. The Black Hack really is at the center of it. This is a cleaned up, revised version that kind of takes you, as I say, as a gateway into an entire community of products that take you back to that first edition Dungeons & Dragons gaming feel. So there you go. That is our celebration of products that you would see spotlighted on RPG Now. And in February, when they sort of sundown that, and we have just the drive-through RPG experience, it's going to be up to people like us to make sure we're giving love and attention to the games that may not always get a chance to crawl up into that top space on drive-through. So there you go. As always, thanks for your support. When you click on the links, there is an affiliate income that I obtain if you make any purchases, which, as always, Raya is pleased because it means she gets more kibble and maybe even some bacon treats. We're going into the holiday season. try not to stress out, and as always, be good and game on.